We've drawn Ingolstadt in the DFB Pokal quarterfinal, probably the best draw we could have gotten. This is supposed to be a nice, easy deadline day video, and then we'd play the DFB Pokal quarterfinal. It was anything but nice and easy on deadline day. Not at all. Hello, my friends. Welcome in. Let's cut right to the chase. Ozan Kabak has gone to Arsenal for $36.5 million plus like a 20% sell-on clause. I was like, thanks, I guess. So I guess we came to the agreement with Kabak that we'd sell him for $33.5 million because otherwise he'd be a really unhappy camper around the locker room and as you like. I could have said no, but I didn't really think we were going to get a significantly better offer. I did try and offer him out at 40 million, 45 million, 50 million after they started coming in. But I told him we would accept. And if he doesn't want to play for us, then he doesn't want to play for us. So it's like, all right, off you go, which is really devastating. Let's be honest. 19 starts, a 7.17. The good news is we sold him for a profit, right? So we got the loan to Liverpool. Norwich is paying like an astronomical loan fee. And they had the option to buy him for $12.75 million. So we actually kind of lucked out because I was anticipating Kabak not being part of our squad. So it's kind of like, well, it's unfortunate that he's gone, but it could have been worse. And so bought him for $15 million from Stuttgart, and we've sold him eventually for $36.5 million. I'm gutted, but it is what it is. And then this happened. So I'd picked out a player. I was planning on like making some shuffles in the attacking third if we had it. Like there was just one of those players that was available on a free that you're like, I feel like I could sell this player in a year for $4 to $8 million, and I can get them on a free. And I feel like in our situation, you have to jump on those. So I'd gone ahead and offered the contract in anticipation of Kabak being sold. Well, what that did is it put us over our wage budget, even though we had transfer budget. I could have like moved the transfer budget down to the wage budget, but I was like, it's about to get taken care of, not a problem. Well, of course, the day before Kabak gets sold, the board go, oh, we have to reduce the transfer budget, transfer revenue made available from a sale because of that. And so instead of getting whatever that is, 25 million, 28 million of the 36.5 million that we sold Kabak for, our transfer budget went to 5 million. That really put a massive crimp in our plans. Although I think even if you went, okay, even if I hadn't told you that, that would make sense from like a narrative standpoint, because the board's going to go, listen, we're down to 226 million in debt, right? That's good. We need to take that transfer and apply it. But I had other center backs lined up that, 6, 8, 10 million euros, which is a lot for us. But hey, you sell a guy for 36.5 million, at least you could reinvest, 10 million in a center back to solidify your back line. Well, that went out the window. So Malik it is, I guess. This is the player that I had my eye on. We gave him a star player contract. I'm not anticipating him being here very long. Qatari, 26 years old, 26 and a half, 32.5 grand a week. So he took, a healthy chunk of what Kabak was making and gave it straight to him. But he's worth potentially 5 million. He was available on a free. We didn't pay a transfer fee. He's only made one appearance for us on a 6.6. But he'd played well. Now, to be fair, he played well in Qatar. So, but it's not like he's coming off a bad season, and especially with how Guardiola is playing. And I was also afraid Gelhardt was going to get recalled because the manager's like, why aren't you playing him as an advanced forward like we agreed? And I'm like, dude, he's playing a lot. And he's like, I don't care. I want him as an advanced forward. And I'm like, okay. So I thought he might get ripped away during the transfer window as well. But I went, yeah, this guy looks too good to pass up. So we bought him. It might be a mistake, but maybe we could sell him next January. Maybe? I think it's good business. If we could get him on a free and sell him in a year or two for 5 million, I think that's good business. Speaking of players that don't want to play for the club, Rabbi Matondo has gone to Werder Bremen. They signed him on an end of contract deal. And then I did the sell now option, and they wouldn't take 1.3 million. They wouldn't take 1.2, 1.11. They eventually settled on 650 grand. Now, the good news is he's out of our hair. Again, like, I'm sure like people have left comments and said he develops into like a really good player. I'm like, well, he's not developed into a really good player for us. He's been injury prone. I haven't gotten him into the team. Partially that's on me, but partially it's on him for being horrifically injury prone. He's on 21 grand a week, which is something like €1 million. And so if you look at that over a little less than half of a season, let's say we just saved ourselves 400,000 on the wage budget and got paid 650. It is what it is. I think it's a terrible buy. Man City and Schalke had some sort of a deal because we had Koya Takura last season. That was also a terrible deal. So like Man City has really taken advantage of Schalke, I think. And we finally got rid. He's off the books. It's done. Now you'd think that would open up the door to Sidi Sane, but I don't think he's like regular starter ready. And so we've loaned him out to Karlsruhe in the league below us, the Zweite Bundesliga, my friends, I do remember, as a squad player, I believe. Yes. Regular starter, even better. That's why we took 10% of his wages plus they're essentially paying like half his wages or something like that. I know that's monthly. Never mind. Scratch what I just said. They're paying a tiny morsel of his wages, but the hope is get him some experience at that Zweite Bundesliga level, and they could use him. They're currently in 17th, my friends, but they're in the battle. He could be the difference. Go get him some good experience, and then maybe we could start rotating him in next season. So I went ahead and loaned this player because with Kabak going out, we essentially would be forced to play our new squad player, left back, as the left center back. And that's okay. He's a quality player. That's fine. But it would leave us a little thin on the back line. So I wanted to have some coverage just in case anything went weird. But I wanted that coverage to have the potential to turn out to be pretty good, if that makes sense. So we've loaned in Pedro Ganachas, maybe, on a contract with a 1.8 million euro optional fee. We're only paying him 1,000 a week for his services. So, you think about Kabak at whatever, it was like 40 something grand a week. I mean, I'm not saying he's as good, but like for a player, I didn't want to, my options I felt were if we'd gotten the 30 plus million from the sale to go out and get a stud center back that, like I said, 6, 8, 10 million that could slot right in and like problem solved. But if we couldn't find that, what I didn't want to do is go get a mediocre player or an older player and kind of like bog us down, because I do want to give Malik the opportunity to kind of like work into that starting center back spot. He's an academy product, right? So, but at the same time, I don't want to just like leave us with not enough center backs, which we'll talk about in a moment, because our current crop of academy players isn't quite ready. Like, I think the best we've got is a 2-star, which I'm going to be leaning on, and we'll talk about it. But I thought Pedro, being 22, a 1.8 million fee and only 1,000 a week, and in a bind could also play left back. Like even if that's like in the middle of a game, if we're trying to like, go to a back five or something like that, he gives us an extra option. And I don't think he's terrible. 6'3". If you put him here, he's a ball playing defender. Again, 2.5 star, but he has 4-star potential. So I think he could end up being a bargain at 1.8 million, depending on the wages he wants, which is about 7 to 10 grand a week. Yeah. So let's go talk about the center back situation. So Eric Landfer here is our best current ability center back prospect. Okay. He's the one we loaned out to Helvese. Sure. In the Dritte Liga, the 3 Liga, whatever that's called. I'm not saying he's anywhere near ready, but again, because I'm a Liverpool fan and I'm wearing a Liverpool, I guess, kind of colored shirt today, I started going, okay, well, what has Liverpool done in their center back crisis? Well, they had essentially 3 starting center backs and then 2 like youth players that they brought in, and those youth players like stepped up. So I went, I don't want to carry too many players, and I want to get value right? So it was like this whole thing in my head where I'm like, Eric in an absolute emergency could do fine because where we're at in the table, right? We're 22 games into a 34 game season. We're now 32 points. I'm feeling highly confident that we are safe from relegation. So from there, it's like, okay, we need to go get playing time for the players we can. We need to cash in on players that we can currently cash in on. And it's not going to devastate our season. Like, I think maybe you would want to make the argument that we're 5 points off the Europa League, but I think getting to the Europa League would be a disaster for us. Like, I kind of don't want that this season. Like, that's too much, I think, next season. So I think we're in a really good spot to, like, if we had an injury crisis, start bringing those academy products in. Because, again, we're all about the academy. Now, I'm saying that despite the fact we brought in a loan cover option. But, again, he's just a cover. And if he doesn't work out, it's only cost us $1,000 a week. Like, we could send him to the second team. Not a problem. All that to say, we sold Dries Wouters. Yeah, for $1.4 million. He was on 7.5, I think, a week. So again, the loanee is less than that we brought in. Fine player, same height, ironically enough, as the guy we just brought in. Can also, like, in an emergency cover left back, but he's not as good at left back as the other guy. You know, now the scouts are saying he's good, but he's really 2.5 star. I love that we've had this guy on the team for a season and a half, and we don't know his current ability. Like, are you serious, Sports Interactive? Like, give me a freaking break. But he wasn't going to get any better. And I think that was the thing. He's 26. He's a little bit older. He wasn't going to get any better. And I went, we got him on an undisclosed. So who knows how. It doesn't really matter. I didn't pay anything for him. He showed up on the team. And again, he'd only played 3 starts, 4 subs this season after giving us 26. He was great last season, but he's definitely more of a Zweite Bundesliga player. Like, I think he doesn't feel comfortable playing in big matches, and I think there was some that said he was a Zweite Bundesliga, like, standard player. And it's like, I think we could get rid, because we do want to give opportunities to the kids, but also, again, I didn't want to just get rid of him and Kabak and then not only have, like, essentially Steve Cook and Malik and the left back that is really a left back but can play center back, because that's too few options. So that's why Pedro came in. We also had Tristan Osmani, which is one of their youth products, stolen away from us by RB Leipzig for $500. Like, it was one of those, like, they offered him a contract, and because they're taking one of our youth prospects, they have to compensate us. It was $575, and it rises to up to $1.5 million if it really works out. I'm not too gutted, to be honest with you. His concentration was low. Like, he's a fine prospect, but he's about to turn 18. And I was like, I don't really know if that's going to hurt us that much if he walks. So that's how we got to having $5 million in the transfer budget and a negative $1 million versus like a negative $20 million, which is what I showed you last episode, bank balance. We are well under the wage budget. Like, we could, this is what I'm hoping to do really. If we like come down here, we get aggressive. Like, we could put 8.4 into the transfer budget and really start planning a purchase like in April. Like, I'd like to not wait till silly season in the summer, but like, look at the squad, see where we need to improve, find a right back. Oh, speaking of right backs, we've reloaned Joe Scally until the end of next season, but Gladbach were willing to only take $1,800, which doesn't make much sense to me. They can't. I tried to buy him, and we couldn't come to an agreement with him. He wanted like 8 or 10 grand, and I was like, mate, like, slow down. Why don't you take? He was on 3 grand. Like, why don't you take 6 grand with some add-ons? And he was like, no. And like, I think I came back once, and the agent was like, we're walking, so we'll try again a little bit later. So then I went, well, I don't want to lose him. I do think he could be our right back of the future. Look at that potential ability, right? So I said, hey, Gladbach, I'd like to extend the loan until the end of next season. And they said, yeah, make him a regular starter, and we'll lower it to $1,800 from $3,000. And I went, how about a squad player? Because he was, I guess, on breakthrough prospect. I was like, how about a squad player, but leave it at $1,800? And they were like, sure. So we've just saved ourselves $1,200 a week. That's a weird thing, I think, by Gladbach to accept that, but we're not complaining. So here's the squad update as we just kind of run through some stuff here. We got Victor out with a damaged foot for another 2 weeks. He's already been out. What is that? Oh, just the whole 3 days. Yep. Evan Rotundo's coming back from an injury. Oliver is still out. Metza has been out with a twisted ankle for 3 weeks, which has been quite unfortunate, to be completely honest with you. I've demoted Ralph to backup. I tried to offer him a contract to say, hey, why don't we make you next year, make you the cup goalkeeper and make Ortega the first teamer? And he was like, no. Like, no. So he wouldn't sign the new contract, but then I demoted him to backup and he didn't say anything. So I'm like, maybe he's coming to terms with his physical reduction. I'd like to keep him. I know he's 56 grand. He's way too much, but I'd like to keep him and make him a goalkeeping coach. I just think that would be neat. I've hopped us forward to the game, the DFB Pokal game, because I was like, I know there's somebody else injured. So Joshua Zirkzee just picked up an ab strain for 3 weeks. He's only given us a 6.6, but I think I like him. I didn't even think. We should have tried to. Oh dear, 33,000. Well, it's going to be a no. We do have the option to buy him, though, for 9.75 million. So there's a question for you, viewer. Would you buy Joshua Zirkzee for 9.75 million at the end of the season if we could finagle the transfer budget enough? What do you think? And in case you're wondering, here's how we actually got to where we're at here. So you saw us play Cologne. We lost to Eintracht Frankfurt, who are, what, second? Unexpectedly, I think you could say, second in the Bundesliga. Then we beat Dusseldorf 2-0. Guardiola gets a goal, like, from the run of play. Nice, sir. Marvin gets a goal. Zalazar gets the winner against Leverkusen. And then we got absolutely smashed by Wolfsburg because Steve Cook got sent off. Although, in his defense... Oh, and Xavi had an amazing, like, own goal. Like, he was running towards his own goal and just, like, I guess he was trying to put it out and it hit his toe and it went in. It was a great finish. The commentary thing that, like, runs here at the bottom during games was, like, he was unfair. Like, there was a ball over the top and Steve Cook was trying to get to the ball around a player and the guy fell down and it said it was unfair and he still got the yellow. And then there was a conversation in the press about the standard of officiating in Germany, which is like the 5th time I've gotten that. So I went all in. I was like, yeah, it's terrible. So, but I mean, the fact that in January we had 3 wins outside of the cup and one of those was Bayern Munich, we will take that all day long, which is again why we are currently sitting on 32 points and sitting pretty, if you ask me. Now that I think the last screen I showed you, because it was a couple days back before that game, we were on 22 games. Now we're on 23 games, but it doesn't matter. We're still, what is that, 14 points clear of the playoffs or relegation. I'm feeling pretty good. So that's where we're going to finish it, my friends. I'm going to bring you right back to take on Ingolstadt. That'll be an extended highlights game because, again, I was thinking we were going to be like, really quiet transfer window. We'll do our stuff in the summer, and then we'll do the cup in the same episode. And it turned out that's not how it went at all. So if you've enjoyed this, hit the like button. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.